I wanted to talk a bit about Royal Mail. You may have seen in the news today that a Czech businessman, billionaire indeed, has been allowed by the government to buy the vast majority stake in Royal Mail, meaning it will be owned by a foreign national. Now, I mean, some people were surprised to see this news at all and thought, oh, they're privatising Royal Mail, but actually they privatised Royal Mail between 2013 and 2015. Pushed through by Vince Cable and the Lib Dems mostly, although it's a coalition government. Bear in mind, I always have to remind people that Lib Dems are not a cuddly left-wing party. They are economically quite right-wing free marketers, like the Tories. But yeah, pushed through, so that was sold off. And now what's just happened is the government has been deliberating about whether a foreign national should be allowed, or foreign companies should be allowed to own vital infrastructure, which is what Royal Mail counts as. Now, that's one debate, isn't it? Whether foreign nationals or foreign companies should be allowed to own vital infrastructure in the UK. I mean, Royal Mail is a natural monopoly. What do we mean by that? We mean it's very difficult for anything or anyone to work against it and compete against it. Maybe that's less true with parcels, but it's certainly true with letters and things. It's very economically difficult to set up a business where you have guaranteed delivery from anywhere in the UK to anywhere else for the same cost. It's an obligation which the government has ensured that the new owner will continue to fulfil with Royal Mail. But like the requirement that it's going to be a UK-based company, it's only going to apply for 5 years. And one of my problems with this isn't so much isn't it terrible that foreigners own British things? Because, I mean, that's a kind of populist take on it, isn't it? My take is things that are vital for our infrastructure shouldn't be privately owned at all. Natural monopolies shouldn't be privately owned, whether that's healthcare or transport, public transport, the postal system. These shouldn't be privately owned. People say, oh, well, it's important that we get the private sector in there to make these things, more efficient. You tell me, has Royal Mail since 2013 become better or worse? Has the service got better? Has it got cheaper? Both of these questions can be answered with no. So since 2013, when privatisation was started, Royal Mail has, by every objective measure, got worse. So what's the solution to that? Well, it seems to be for the government to continue to sell off what shares and stakes it has in the business and to hand it to a billionaire in another country to somehow make more efficient. Now, you could say, well, it's privatised now, what can you do? This review was an opportunity for the government to say, actually, this is vital infrastructure, it should be owned by the public. Because I want to make it very clear what my position is. You shouldn't necessarily expect a natural monopoly like this to, air quotes, make money. Because things like infrastructure shouldn't have to be profitable. They should be a thing that the rest of society just uses for day-to-day business. Does anyone ask if pavements in your town should be profitable? Does anyone ask, in fact they do actually these days sadly, whether your local primary school is profitable? No, because these things are just things we need. They are things that every other business and every person in this country just use from day-to-day life. Like, if the ability for you to know that if you're a business that to send your post to somebody in this country will cost the same wherever they live is a kind of fundamental part of running your business. At least it's a fundamental part of running it efficiently. If you are sending out lots of things, and they could be important things, not just junk mail, and you had to work out the exact price or get a quote for every letter you wanted to send, can you imagine how mad that is? So it's important that everything costs the same. And to be fair, it's important that it costs the same to send it to anyone, whether they live next door to you or in the Highlands of Scotland. And that's very difficult for a private business to do. It's something that the government should do. Universal services and natural monopolies should be publicly run. And we've got a Labour government now, which is in theory left-wing, although isn't, and we could talk about that at length. And I imagine that a lot of people who voted Labour at the last election didn't think they'd be seeing things like handing control of Royal Mail to foreign billionaires. I mean, I was telling them at every hustings, we've been telling people for a long time, Labour is not left-wing. Wake up, it's not the 70s anymore. You know, as far as I know, only the Greens are the party saying these things should be run with the public sector. But that's a different argument. I will bang on about it every time there's an election, because it doesn't seem to be sinking in that the Greens are the only people who are taking public ownership seriously. But that's by the by. My argument is that whatever party's in power, you should be demanding from them that things that are natural monopolies that you have to use should be run by the public for the public, whether that's the water in your taps to less obvious things like Royal Mail. You may not realise it, but you depend on it. And now I guess we'll see. We've got 5 years of relative stability where this billionaire has to do what he promised. After those 5 years are up, who knows? Will we still have a system where you can pop something in a letterbox in your town and it will arrive more or less reliably where you sent it for a fixed price? I don't know. I doubt it, because it doesn't make much commercial sense. Will anyone else be able to compete? Not nationally, no. It'd be very difficult, wouldn't it? Because nobody's got the resources that Royal Mail has, and nobody's likely to do that. Parcels maybe, not letters. It's just chipping away at the fabric of our country, bit by bit, until it's all gone, until nothing works, until it's all done for profit. And even ultra-capitalist countries like America don't do this. It's not more efficient. It's an ideology, and I'm afraid it's an ideology shared obviously by the right, Reform and the Tories and all that nasty bunch, but also by the left. Well, in theory, the left, Labour, and the Lib Dems who pushed this through. So the only way to correct this is to start voting. Don't vote tactically. Don't vote, just vote for what you want and vote for what this country needs.